Faradin writhed with light, advertising screens flickering like half-living things, neon veins pulsing in violent pinks and sickly greens. Fog slithered between the towers, crawling along rooftops and dripping down fire escapes. The people below, the ones still awake, hurried with their collars turned up, their shoulders hunched, their eyes deliberately avoiding alleyways that whispered. The city hummed, shaking faintly like something breathing. Most pretended it was the subway lines vibrating underground. Most were wrong. There were places in Faradin where the monsters never truly died. They just blended in. A little makeup, a little charm, a hoodie pulled just right to hide the horns or the too-sharp grin, and everything looked normal enough. The world had trouble believing in wickedness unless it wore ritual robes or dripped fangs onto a cathedral floor. Evil in jeans and sneakers was easier to ignore. But on this particular night, beneath the humming street lamps, something old stirred restlessly. Something hungry. And one person, one entirely human person, was about to discover that Faradin's darkness had been watching them for a very long time. Chapter 1. The girl with the glass heart Arya veil walked like someone expecting to be followed. She kept her hood up despite the warm night, hands tucked in her gray jacket, gaze flicking to every reflection in every shop window. Her boots beat a hurried rhythm across the cracked pavement of East Barlow Street. She didn't run. Running meant fear. Running meant prey. And prey didn't survive in Faradin. Arya wasn't special. That was the first thing anyone would say about her, and it was the thing she resented most. She worked as a night cleaner in the South Rail Transit Hub, scrubbing vomit from train seats, scraping gum off railings, sweeping the same platform every shift until the smell of bleach felt like part of her bloodstream. Her life was simple. It was small. It was safe. Or, at least it used to be. Tonight, she wasn't leaving work like normal. Tonight something had been watching her from the platform shadows, a shape too tall, too still, too silent to be human. And when Arya had turned, just once, she'd seen a glint of amber eyes. Not streetlight amber. Predator amber. Now she hurried toward her apartment building, a crumbling concrete block where the elevators trembled with every floor and the hallway lights flickered like they owed the landlord money. She reached her street. Fog pooled thickly along the gutter, like spilled milk. The lamps above buzzed softly, casting faint halos of white. This section of Faradin had always felt slightly wrong to her, like an itch she couldn't scratch. But right now, the city felt like a held breath.
Arya walked faster.
A shape moved in her peripheral vision. She spun. Nothing. Just a dented dumpster and a narrow alley choked with trash bags. Then a whisper. Not a voice, not exactly. More like the hiss of air escaping a cracked pipe, but distinctly intentional. Aria's pulse thundered in her ears. Not tonight, she muttered. Please, not tonight. She reached her building, swiped her keycard, shoved the door open and bolted inside. The lobby smelled of mildew and old cigarettes. She slammed the door behind her and leaned against it, chest heaving. Only then did she realize she was trembling. She didn't know yet that something had slipped in behind her before the door could shut. Chapter 2. The smiling man Arya took the stairs 2 at a time. She never used the elevator, not after the night it had dropped 3 floors with her inside. The city had brushed that one off as poor maintenance. Arya had sworn the elevator cables had dissolved rather than snapped. She reached the 3rd floor and hurried down the hallway to apartment 3C, fumbling with her keys. A voice behind her made her freeze. You dropped this. She turned slowly. A man stood in the hallway, tall, slender, dressed in a sharp black coat that looked far too expensive for this building. His hair was dark and neatly cut. His face was handsome in a predatory way, like something sculpted with angles rather than features. But the smile.
God's the smile.
Too wide. Too pleased. Too still.
Arya swallowed.
I didn't drop anything. The man held out his palm. A small piece of glass rested there, polished smooth, faintly glowing with an inner light like embers under snow. Aria's breath hitched. She knew that piece of glass. It was hers. Specifically, it was from her heart. Her pulse stuttered. Where did you get that? The man stepped closer. His shoes made no sound on the thin carpet. You should be more careful, he said softly. Hearts made of glass are so terribly fragile, Arya. She backed away until her shoulders hit her apartment door. How do you know my name? She whispered. His grin widened, impossibly, like skin stretching over something not meant to smile. Oh, Arya, the man breathed. I've known your name for a very long time. He lifted the glass shard, and the hallway lights flickered violently, then died.
Darkness swallowed them.
Arya fumbled for her keys. A whisper brushed her ear. I've come to collect what was promised. She turned the lock with shaking fingers, flung open her door, and dove inside. She slammed the door shut and threw the bolt just as something tapped the other side, a gentle, polite knock that froze her blood. Pleasant dreams, the man whispered, voice muffled by the wood. Footsteps.
Slow.
Unhurried. Leaving. Arya slid down the door, sweating, shaking, breath ragged. She didn't sleep that night. She didn't know she'd been marked, or that the man with the too-wide smile had only been the first. Chapter 3. The Warlock of District 11. Faradin wasn't just a city. It was a battleground. 1,000,000 years ago, or maybe only 100, depending on which creature you asked, the city had fallen on top of something ancient. Something hungry. Something that twisted the ground it slept in. And so Faradin became a beacon for the strange, the magical, the monstrous. But not all monsters hunted humans. Some hunted other monsters. On the opposite side of the city, in a warehouse that had once manufactured electrical components and now served as a makeshift lair, a man named Ezran Ward frowned into a scrying bowl. Smoke curled upward from the dark water inside it. The surface rippled as though stirred by a hand that wasn't there. Images flickered across it, buildings, faces, lights, shadows. Faradin from above. Faradin from below. Ezran wasn't in the habit of watching mundane city life. He only watched for things that moved wrong. And he had just seen something very wrong. A tall man in a black coat, smiling too widely for the seams of his face to hold. He drifted through Faradin's corridors like a shark smelling blood in the waves. Ezran's jaw tightened. He leaned closer and muttered an incantation. The water swirled. The image sharpened. The smiling man turned, and his amber eyes locked onto Ezran through the bowl, as though staring straight into his soul. Ezran recoiled. Shit, he whispered. The bowl cracked. Smoke exploded outward. The warlock staggered back, coughing violently as shadows spilled across the concrete floor like an overturned bottle of ink. The shadows twined upward into long fingers. Ezran lifted a hand and conjured a sigil that glowed white-hot. Back, he commanded. The shadows recoiled, hissing. They slithered back into the bowl and vanished. Ezran ran a trembling hand through his hair. A smiling one in Faradin. That meant the veil was thinning again. He didn't know who the creature was hunting, but he knew the city didn't have long before things got much, much worse. Chapter 4. The city beneath the city. Arya didn't go to work the next night. She didn't leave her apartment at all, except to peek through the peephole. No tall man with a smile too wide to be human. No glowing glass shard. No amber eyes. Just her heartbeat thundering in her chest, pounding against ribs that felt weaker than they should. She didn't remember when her heart had changed. She only remembered the aftermath. At 13 years old, she'd survived an accident that should have killed her, a car crash with no survivors except her. Doctors had said they found shrapnel embedded near her heart. They removed what they could, but something had healed wrong. Something had healed unnaturally. Her chest scar glowed faintly blue in certain lights. More than once she'd seen her pulse illuminate through her skin like a lantern. Tonight, that glow felt stronger. The shard the man had offered, she knew exactly what it was. A piece of her. A fragment of the enchantment that had been stitched into her chest long ago by someone she couldn't remember. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A text from an unknown number. He's not gone. Don't open the door. Arya stared at the message. Who the hell is E? She didn't have long to wonder, because the lights in her apartment flickered. And then her phone rang. Same unknown number. Her breath hitched. She answered.